Welcome to another Garfish educational video. We're going to do order of operations today, and I have it listed over here. You may have heard it as "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or PEMDAS, but I have it listed here. The first thing you do is you take care of anything inside parentheses, and for our purposes, parentheses are parentheses, obviously. We won't be doing any brackets, but those brackets also work as parentheses. Basically, they're called grouping symbols at that point. And this is the absolute value symbol. And if there's absolute value in your problem, you take care of it just like it was a parenthesis. But of course, once you're done inside it, you make your number positive to move on. Once there's no parentheses, or even inside the parentheses, this is the actual order of operations. Parentheses are grouping things. It's not really an operation. We include it. But exponents is really the first operation you do. And then if there's no exponents, or once you've done all the exponents, you multiply and divide. And the key thing here is that you don't multiply and then divide. You do whichever one comes first, and that's why I have a little arrow over multiply and divide showing left to right. And then once you get down to nothing but addition and subtraction, again, it's not add and then subtract. It's add and subtract as it appears in the problem. So we're going to try to do a few examples. Yes, the calculators that we have been describing and working with so far this year, you can learn how to just put the entire problem in, hit an equal sign, and it'll do it for you. And you may be wondering, well, why don't I just teach that? Well, in this case, it's a little bit more important that we understand the order that things are being done in rather than the various math facts of memorizing addition and subtraction. Also, you're much more likely to run into a calculator that doesn't do order of operations for you than one that doesn't have a negative sign. So we're just going to go through one step at a time, and I'm going to show how I expect my students to set it up one thing at a time. There's obviously some shortcuts you can do if you choose. I'm just going to demonstrate how I want my students to put it on their paper. And we'll start with some really simple stuff, just to illustrate some basic things. One of the most common mistakes is what I mentioned earlier in the multiplication and division level. There's no parentheses, there's no exponents, so we're right there at multiply and divide. Too often people remember the my dear Aunt Sally part or the PEMDAS, M before D. But no, here the division is first in the problem, so you do that. 20 divided by 2 is 10 times 5. So your result would then be 50. Okay? You don't multiply first. You divide because it came first in the problem. Likewise, 8 minus 5 plus 9. Again, no parentheses or exponents or multiply or division. We're just illustrating the fact that you don't do 5 plus 9. Okay? You start with 8 minus 5 here. And that's 3 plus 9. And that's why your answer is 12. So there's the first common mistake you see when it comes to the end. All right, well, let's do a few more extensive problems. And then here, we'll just go for the big boy right off the bat. Okay, here's one of our more complex problems, and to be honest, in my math class, this is probably about as complicated as it's going to get. And so we'll just start at the top. You always start at the top and work your way down. And in this problem, we have parentheses, and you'll notice that inside the parentheses, we have more than one operation. So we start with exponents. Are there any exponents inside the parentheses? Yep, we have 3 to the third power. Okay, so that's where we start. Inside the parentheses, but we follow the rest of the order of operations. So I still need my parenthesis because I'm not going to get one number yet. 3 to the third, remember that's not 3 times 3. That's 3 times 3 times 3. That's 3 3's being multiplied, and that gives you 27. Minus 6. Still need the parenthesis, and then 15 divided by 3. I like to have my students do just one step at a time and write down the result. Okay, we're not really doing the work on the board. We're just writing the result of the work down. Okay, still have a parenthesis. No more exponents, no multiplication or division. I just subtract. A single operation, I do it. That gives me 21. I don't need the parentheses anymore because I'm down to a single number. But don't forget your exponent. That 2 is supposed to be on whatever number comes out of the parentheses. So I got 21 to the second power. And then again, rewrite your problem. All right? There are no more parentheses. See, it's kind of like a new problem each time. Okay? So there's no more parentheses. So now I look for exponents. There's one. So the first thing I'm going to do is 21 to the second power. And again, I'm not saying don't do it without a calculator. Okay, I'm just saying that we're not going to try to do it all at once on a calculator. So I just do 21, and remember again, not times 2, but 21 times 21, that's 441. Okay, and then again, plus 15 divided by 3. All right, no more exponents. Here's my new problem. No more exponents. I do have addition and division though, and division comes before addition in the order of operations. So I go ahead and do 15 divided by 3, 441 plus 5, and then only thing left, 446. And there you go. Let's try to do, well, I do want to do two more for sure. So I'll try to do these quickly so our video doesn't get too long. And this has what I like to call ghost parentheses in it. Because you may recall that when you have a fraction, that is another way of writing division. But because of the division, the way it's written, I need a single number up top and a single number on the bottom before I divide. So I call this a ghost parenthesis situation. Okay? All it means is I have to do the operation on top, the operation on the bottom, and then divide. Very, very straightforward. 3 plus 15 is 18. And again, I like to have my students do just one step at a time, one operation, write down the result. Okay? So now I've got 5 minus 2. Okay, that's 3. And now I can do the division. There's no more ghost parentheses because I have a single number top and bottom, and that gives me my answer of 6. All right, one more example, and I want to do this just to show you where an absolute value would come in, and to bring in the fact that negative numbers do not affect or change how you do the order of operations. So just really quickly, 6 minus the absolute value of negative 3 plus negative 7. Okay? All right. I don't have any parentheses, but remember, the absolute value symbol works where the parentheses work. So we're going to do what's in here first, and also, for the benefit of my students at Hillcrest Middle, we have right here what we kind of call a double sign, and you don't add a negative. What do? You subtract. So I'm going to do negative 3 minus 7 instead. Okay? because that's the same thing, so why not write it like that? Again, absolute value is where parentheses fit in the order of operations. So I'm going to do -3 minus 7, 6 minus, and I am going to leave the absolute value symbol in here for just a second. -3 minus 7 is -10. The reason I left the absolute value symbol in is because remember, the absolute value symbol makes whatever's inside it a positive number. Since this is negative, it does actually change it. And my final step is 6 minus 10, and that is -4. So that's some examples of absolute value. Step over here and run through it one more time for you. Whenever you're doing a problem that's got more than one operation, you start with parentheses. Are there any grouping symbols? And a reminder that it's the traditional parentheses. It could be brackets, or it could be an absolute value symbol. You take care of whatever's inside any one of those symbols first. Inside the symbol, or after there's no symbols left, you do exponents. Once there's no more exponents, you multiply and divide. Make sure you're doing that from left to right. And then the last thing you do is you do any addition and subtraction. But remember, it's left to right as it appears in the problem. I hope this was helpful. Appreciate you watching it. Thank you.